where can you find strength? Now, you have to understand that where you're going to find strength is where you're going to find pain. Because when you plant a seed into the ground, the seed has to force itself to allow itself to expand its roots, to dig into the dirt and then pull. It has to endure the push of expansion, and then it has to pull nutrients out of what it's expanding through. So when I say that, if you're going through anything negative, that's where you're going to find strength, and that's where you're going to foster the nutrients that you can potentially suck out of that negative experience if you have that mindset that you need. So you have to understand that any negative thing, it could be a person, it could be a situation, it could be a circumstance. If you can find the nutrients in that circumstance and pull out of your ego and suck the nutrients out of that circumstance, out of that situation, out of that negative person, you'll be able to have this nutrients that is very uncommon, very rare, because you pulled it out a negative situation. And understand that negative situations, when they happen, no one's looking at what can be pulled out of it and learned, right? No one's looking at the nutrients you can pull out of something negative. But when you start to pull out of your ego and you stop being you're mental, so you're more sentient, right? You're not with a mental attitude, you're not forcing your own thoughts upon a situation. You're more sentient, right? So you're feeling more than you are receiving thoughts from what you are perceiving. And when you get to that level of mental acuity, right? So mental perceptibility, right? When you get to that level, you'll be able to circumnavigate circumstantial circumferences to a higher degree and exponentially increase and proliferate your circumstantial circumference. So when we look at certain individuals who are dealing with certain specifications of situations that they need to overcome, or maybe they have to deal with a certain person who is maybe not the best to deal with, if you can pull out of your ego and understand that there's nutrients within that negative individual, within that negative situation, and all you have to do is pull out the nutrients, you have now fed your mind with food that is very rare, and you will be able to circumnavigate that circumstantial circumference. Because understand that the circumstance, okay, so I'm just going to break this down for you. A circumstantial circumference is a circumference, right? So I want you to go on Google and I want you to look up what a circumference is. And when you look up what a circumference is, you are the speck in the middle of the circumference. So when we look at a circumstance, right, a circumstance is anything that is forced onto you that you cannot escape because you are within that. So when we look at a specific, okay, let's say you're in debt, right? You cannot escape being in debt because that is you are circumstantially circumferenced by that circumstance. So you have to pull out of the debt and you have to think about how you're going to make money to pay off the debt. Because if all you do is think about the debt, aka think about the circumstantial circumference in front of you, then you won't get far at all. So this is where intelligence, mental acuity, and just, a different level of thinking, higher degrees, higher literal dimensions of receiving thought from your frequency. Because remember, your frequency, what you frequently see in the world, is what you're going to reflect. But not only is that what you're going to reflect, that's what you're going to see and experience. So you can walk out of your house in fear and guilt and shame, and you can feel the apathy from your heart, and you're going to project and postulate that into the environment, and you're going to linger and culminate that energy and use it as a force of deprivation against yourself. So instead of weaponizing your mind against yourself, look at the nutrients you can pull out of what that circumference is literally telling you to pull out from. Because you have to understand that it's called instruction. You have to look at circumstances as instructions. So instead of looking at circumstances as something you can't escape, and then going to the alcohol, going to the vape, going to the weed, going to the girl or the person that you use, which is another human. People forget that that's another human. So instead of trying to escape your circumstantial circumference, you need to look at it, you need to pull out of it, and then you need to instruct and construct the individual, the who, not the how. Because when you think about the how, you are worried about, everything. So when you think about the who, you just inform into the individual, and your mind's interferometry will naturally integrate specifications and qualities and characteristics that that individual would have who has overcome, and you will integrate that into your psyche, and through that you will expand into that individual. So this is a different level of being a human, right? So you have to understand that hue, when we look at the spectrum of color, right, that is a vibrational spectrum. And through that vibrational spectrum, if you can, vibrate at the highest of, vibration all the time, and then steadily increase that threshold by being positive. Look, if you don't understand, because understand that there's a certain level of, comprehension that is necessitated and needed to actually understand and comprehend the velocity of what I just told you. And there's a certain level of being able to receive high vibrational thoughts that are operating at a higher dimension of frequency, quantum physically, that you are not able to perceive because you are in a low vibration. So you have to rise in vibration through your daily habits. And this is why my program is going to fit you to align with that mental, spiritual, and physical alignment, instead of ailment, instead of, going through life as this figment, inbounded and chained to that negative emotion that is ruining your life experience. Get on my program and let me give you the resources so you can actually rise in vibration and align yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, and intellectually as you use me as a reference point of where you need to go. Because you have to understand that you only live once, and to not experience the power of being aligned, and to go out into the world and conquest and conquer and dominate and proliferate and become the individual you always needed, and succeeding, and leaving the rest to remain envious and jealous as they recede because you succeed. There's a different level of life that you're missing out on. And if you're not on my program, if you're not in the community, if you're not reading my Patreon posts, and you're not learning new things, if you're not trying to expand deliberately, because understand that if you're a seed in the dirt and you're not forcing your roots to get out of the seed, if you're not forcing that expansion from without of yourself, right? So you're not pushing to get to that nutrients, to find the nutrients in the dirt, right? If you're not pushing for that next level, you're not gonna reach to that next level. And the people who don't reach that next level always stay in the dirt, and so they need something else to provide the water to their soil, but it never expands the nutrients. It just turns into a big fucking mess. So don't be a big fucking mess, and get on the program. And that's it for today. Peace.